Hello everyone, I hope you're doing very well. For today's valued viewer request, we've got blank. I apologise, I forgot your name, but look, I've remembered all these beautiful names. Got another question for you. Could the Lethbridge Canadian F-18 crash have been prevented? Well, let's go and have a look so we can refresh our memories. Good music. I support the music. That's me immediately demonetised, isn't it? Because of the fucking music. God damn it. Okay, classic engine loss. What is that? Right engine loss, obviously. Now, the amazing thing is the ejection survival here. I mean, this is great because there's a crash and no one dies, which is the best type of crash. So let's just going to have a look at that. I mean, it's a great camera quality as well.
He didn't come out unscathed, though.
But no one ever really comes out of an ejection seat unscathed, though, do they? And 20 Gs. He's been doing a high alpha pass, low speed, high alpha, to show how high alpha this thing can go, which is very high alpha and very slow. You can see because we've got the leading edge slats are down and the flaps are probably down a bit, I'm not sure. Right engine fails due to mechanical issues from what we can find. What was it? Boost pump or?
Piston in the ratio boost pump.
Okay, that doesn't mean anything to me, but mechanical failure. Right, so he couldn't get above idle on the right engine, so he goes full power on both engines because he doesn't know, he hasn't got time to find out, we know exactly what the problem is. Full power on both engines, so afterburner kicks into the left engine only, idle power on the right engine. Or obviously it's going to keel over to the right and there's no surviving it. It will never get back into flight. It will depart almost immediately because of the massive yaw, kind of instability there, even though the engines are quite close to each other. He punches out as he should do, just you know, in time, should we say, when it's 90 degrees roll to the right, which shows how amazing these ejection seats are. So that is a surefire death there, but the ejection seat punches him out. Look at all that smoke. It looks amazing. So that's the first few milliseconds as the canopy look. And just in time, because it's probably over 90 degrees by now, the pilot comes out, fires, and look how it spins him around. You see that? I don't know how the seat works, whether it's got adjustable nozzles on the rockets or whatever, I just don't know. And it fires him up and away from the ground, as you can see. Otherwise, he just would have hit the ground with such force that obviously he would have been killed immediately. So that is 150 feet he ejected there, or at least initiated the injection. And look at that. All of the time in the world for that parachute to grab the air and slow him down, which quite frankly is just amazing engineering there. Let's go and have a look at the accident report. During an air show practice at Lethbridge County Airport, this plane experienced a loss of thrust from its right engine as we've described while conducting a high angle pass at 300 feet, probably about 120 knots, 110 knots, something like that, above AGL. So to survive any kind of engine failure, you need either speed or height. This has got nothing. It's got no height at all, literally, and it's got no speed. So this is non-survivable. Unaware of the problem, but feeling the aircraft sink slightly, the pilot, Brian Booze, selected maximum afterburn on both throttles in order to overshoot from the maneuver extend. The aircraft immediately started to yaw to the right and continued to yaw and roll rapidly to the right despite compensation from the control column and rudder pedals, which will be your natural instinct, obviously. With the aircraft approximately 150 feet ATL and 90 degrees of bank, the pilot ejected from the aircraft. The aircraft continued tight, descending corkscrew to the right prior to hitting the ground nose first. The ejection system worked flawlessly, but the pilot was injured when he landed firmly under the inflated parachute. Oh, he was actually injured under landing, as in literally when he touched ground, rather than the injection seat, it seems to say.
It was about 2 seconds worth of me trying to fight the jet. It looked like it was spiraling into the ground. It started to slide to one side and the nose started to drop. I knew where the jet was going and I didn't want to be there with it, so I knew my only chance of survival was to pull the ejection handle. People ask, you know, how is it? Is that an easy decision to make, or you must have really struggled with that decision? It was pretty obvious to me. My perception was that I had turbulence and a downdraft. I added power, still was not happy with the situation, so I decided to add full power to climb away. Climbing away from the high alpha pass is something that I had done 50 or 60 times so far in that season, but something that day went terribly wrong, as you all know. It became immediately obvious to me that the jet was not acting like it normally acts. I didn't know what the problem was at the time, but I tried to fight it, but I was not in control of the aircraft anymore. So I pulled the ejection handle, my training kicked in, I knew I had to do it. It's something that we train to do, but it's rare to actually have to do it. So I pulled the handle and the ride started from there. The seat goes up the rails of the jet, powered by a catapult. At the top of the catapult, the rocket motor fires. It's almost 5,000 pounds of thrust in the seat, which carries me away from the aircraft. The parachute comes out about half a second later. I remember the whole flight. I remember in disbelief watching the canopy blow. I watched the jet turn onto its back and crash into the ground and explode. I watched the canopy hit the ground, and then I hit the ground fairly hard after that. When I hit the ground, I felt pain in my spine. I knew that I had a problem with my back. I didn't know if it was just a shock thing or what, but I decided that the best thing for me was just to lie there face down until help arrived.
Just like the parachute never fully slowed him down enough by that point, so I guess that's why he got the back injury. Blank has asked, is there anything he could have done to survive? The answer is no. There's nothing there. The physics will not allow it, but we're going to go try anyway. Okay, viewers, we're going to do a high alpha pass, slow high alpha angle of attack for the runway ahead. We've got our controls shown on the left here. Got the stick, and got the rudder, and got the 2 engine input. So stand by. At a very inopportune moment, I am going to turn off my right engine. Angle of attack 9 degrees, 10 degrees, 11 degrees, 13 degrees, 130 knots, 15 degrees, 120 knots, so that's probably pretty much where he was. Cut the right engine, full power to compensate. It's going to roll, even though I'm full left rudder. So let's just look where I am. I cut the right engine. As you can see, I did it on purpose. Obviously, he wouldn't have done it on purpose, but it has the same effect. I've gone for, looked at there, I've gone full left stick. This is all just by natural response. It's just what I do naturally. And a little bit of aft stick, as you can see, it's just natural as well. I've also gone full left rudder as well, which is natural. So my rudder's full to the left. Everything's trying to pull me left, a little bit up, and roll left, and I'm on full power as well, so I should be burning probably on my left engine. That's not an afterburner yet, but it's working its way up to afterburner. See the RPM going up to, okay, we're on 100%, so the afterburner is about to kick in, but there's nothing it can do. I've departed from flight. My yaw slip is massive. I don't know if we've got a yaw slip indicator in here. I don't think not. Let's see what happens. Nothing I can do. I'm going, punch up, punch up, punch up. So exactly in every way, apart from the way the fault happened, as we saw in there, and there's nothing I can do. I could either crash on my nose in control, or I could broken spine, or I can that was actually quite a hard impact, or I could have essentially carried on in the high alpha and basically landed on my tail, in which case I probably wouldn't have survived. Anything anyone can think of adding or doing differently, but I can't. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Full power or not full power. That's our only options.
What if you had nosed down and given it a little bit of power?
Okay, so we'll go this time. We'll do it one more time. This time we'll go mil power and nose down. Because there's such fine thresholds at this point, I can guarantee it's not going to work. Because we're already stalling. But alright, so I've got to fight my own.
I wouldn't even go mil power. I would go
just a little bit. Alright.
Half power.
Right. I'm going to try and do it about 120 knots again, which is more or less about what he was at. I'm actually doing it a bit higher than he was. I'm doing it at 450 because I'm not as good as him, basically. 120 knots. Right engine cut. Nose down. And just a little bit of power. Oh, maybe I'll see. Maybe. Full power. Ah, Jesus. I felt my belly hit the ground. Oh, no. Don't lose it. Okay. That was interesting. I was 80 feet higher than he was, but I really wasn't expecting that. I actually survived. I rubbed my belly of my plane against the ground trying to do that. Should we see if we can do that again? All I did was nose forward and put half power on, and I'm actually really amazed that that worked in any way possible. And I'm back and burn now, obviously, when I got a bit of altitude and I got the planes, not slipping. By the way, we're not saying the pilot did anything wrong. The pilot did everything right.
Right.
It's just that we're looking at was it possible to save it? You never actually do this in a real plane. He was doing the correct operational procedure, which is power up, but
yeah,
it's just interesting. The other thing is he's probably a higher angle than us as well, but I just don't have the skill to fly the Hornet at that kind of angle of attack, so we just have to be a little more forgiving. 120 knots, 15 plus, shutting the left engine down. Tiny bit of power, forward stick. Feed the power on.
Check gear.
Full power. Wow, look at that. One more time. Let's try and get it more accurately. A bit higher alpha and 300 feet like he was. Okay. Engine cut. Half power. 300 feet. Oh, I reckon I can do it. Power. Left rudder. Guns. Boom. Interesting. So obviously doing everything properly happened exactly as the pilot happened. out of interest, if we had just 100 more feet, which between friends isn't that much, we think we could survive that by going about half power. Because the problem is, what's actually killing him, stupidly, is going into full power, because that's yawing his plane over. All that extra power from one engine is yawing his plane over, departing flight, obviously. What we do, just what RC said, which is continued flight by putting the nose pitch forward, no roll and no yaw correction at all, and just go middle power and just basically trade a tiny bit of height for a tiny bit of speed, and then ever so slowly feed the throttle on. And that actually worked. The first time I bumped my engines, which would have killed the plane anyway, I imagine, but this is, it's not real, so I got away with it. The second time, I just about made it with a couple of feet off the floor. Then the third time, I brought it down to 300 feet, or as close as I could get to what the actual air show was doing, 300 feet, and as high as alpha, at least as I could fly. And you just can't do it. You saw there, I didn't quite have enough room, and in the end I had to go full power too slow, and it just fed into the same problem of that yaw turn as well. So I still claim that it's not doable. Any pushback on that?
No, I would agree.
All right.
He didn't have enough time to correct.
Ironically, the better he's doing his stunt, i.e. the slower and the higher alpha, and the lower, the less the chance that he can possibly survive it, which is a bit weird. I hope you enjoyed that. See you later.